Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. This is the waiver wire episode for week number 12. So overall, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to portray this as being an awesome waiver wire week because it's not. I'm just going to be blunt and say this waiver wire week is pretty bad. So we're going to talk about 3 different quarterbacks, a running back, a couple wide receivers, a tight end, and some defenses to stream. Not a lot out there this week. Probably not a lot that you're going to want to spend up on either. So we're going to start off with Cam Newton. He was 21 out of 27 this past week, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 46 rushing yards as well. Ended up with 30.16 points in week 11. This is 6-point per passing touchdown leagues is the scoring format that I typically use for this video. He is rostered in 41% ESPN leagues, 52% Yahoo league. So it's about a 50-50 chance if he's actually out there in your league. Goes against the Dolphins this week. The Dolphins have played better on defense in recent weeks, so not the easiest matchup in the world, but not the toughest by any means either. So if Cam Newton's still out there in your league, if you really need a quarterback, you can probably spend 5 to 10% of your fab budget on him because there's not much else to spend up for this week. And if you really need a quarterback, Cam Newton might solve your quarterback problems for the rest of the year. Then next up, we're going to go with Taylor Heinicke. He was 16 out of 22, 206 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 29 rushing yards, ended up with 29.14 points in week 11. Rostered in 13% of ESPN leagues, 16% of Yahoo leagues. He's a streamable quarterback this week going against a Seattle defense that has not been the best against the pass so far this season. So Taylor Heinicke showing a little bit of upside, has a little bit of a rushing floor. Somebody that you can definitely stream this week. He's a guy I probably only spend up to 2% of my fab budget on at this point in time. Maybe you can plug and play him a couple other weeks throughout the season, but at the very least, he's a streamable quarterback for week 12. Then we'll move over to Jimmy Garoppolo, who was also 16 out of 22, oddly enough. 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, had 6 yards rushing, 19.64 points in week 11. He's been very consistent, at least. He's a guy that you can plug and play in your lineup. He's definitely not going to hurt you, and he has a very, very easy schedule. Roster in 14% of ESPN leagues, 33% of Yahoo leagues. Pretty decent chance that he's still out there. Goes against the Vikings in week 12, who the best thing is the Vikings are going to give up points. They're going to give up passing yards, and the Vikings can score points by themselves. So it's not a game that you're going to be afraid of just the 49ers running the ball the whole time, and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be limited in terms of pass attempts. So definitely a good matchup this week. Definitely a guy that you can stream throughout the rest of the season. So probably 2 to 3% of my fab budget is what I'd be willing to spend on Jimmy Garoppolo at this point in time. Then we'll go over to the lone running back that's on my list. There's nothing out there at the running back position. There's a couple guys that are just above 50% that you can look at. So if you have any questions about them, just be sure to leave it down in the comments. I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. You could look at a Devonta Freeman. You could look at a Latavius Murray, the Baltimore running backs, if you want to do so. If you need somebody that plug and play this week, that's probably where I'd go if they're available in your leagues. But in terms of longer-term plays, I'm looking at DeeJay Dallas here, play 37% of snaps. He had 4 carries, 25 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 targets, 1 reception, 2 yards, 9.7 points in week 11. Rashad Penny did get hurt again in this game, and I know they said they were going to get more involved, but he's not that good. He gets hurt all the time. DeeJay Dallas is probably better anyways. He is only rostered 1% at both ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Goes against the Washington football team in week 12. Not the best matchup in the world, but not the worst matchup either. He's a guy that I want to pick up, I want to stash, keep on the end of my bench, and maybe he turns into a valuable fantasy asset down the road. But like I said, there's really not much out there for running backs overall. DeeJay Dallas probably spend 1% of my fab budget on. You could probably get him for free in most leagues because most people aren't even going to be thinking twice about him. This is another good week potentially to handcuff some of your running backs if your team is, 8-3, 9-2, whatever. You're going to make the playoffs, you might as well handcuff some of your running backs starting off now. But we're going to get moved over to the wide receiver position, so we'll start off with Elijah Moore. He played 80% of snaps this past week, which was a big uptick for him. So that's definitely something that we would like seeing. He had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Very, very solid day there. He had 1 carry for 15 yards as well. 9.6 points in week 11. I do not expect this performance to repeat. But is he going to be a valuable asset that you can start in your lineup probably more times than not this season? There's definitely a chance for that. He is rostered in 41% ESPN leagues, 58% of Yahoo leagues. So typically I try to stay under 50%, but there's really not much out there this week. If he's out there in your league, definitely worth picking up. He plays against the Houston Texans in week 12. That's another favorable matchup. They are my favorite team, all being said, but if he's going to be out there, if he's going to be playing this many snaps, if he's going to get the targets, he's going to turn into an asset that you're going to want on your team. So I'd probably spend 5 to 10% of my fab budget on Elijah Moore at this point in time. Then next up, we got Kadarius Toney, who played last night, played 60% of snaps, saw 12 targets, so that's a major good thing for Kadarius Toney. Him, Daniel Jones getting chemistry. Everybody else is kind of healthy on the team besides Sterling Shepard at this point in time, and he still saw 12 targets, so that's definitely a positive sign overall. 7 receptions, 40 yards, had 11 points in Week 11. If you're in a PPR league, 11 points is not going to kill you. It's a guy that you can plug and play as your wide receiver 3, your flex play if you really need to, and a bye week filler. So at the very least, he's that. But he does offer some upside for more. Rostered in 45% of ESPN leagues, 55% of Yahoo leagues, goes against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 12. Should be a little bit of a favorable matchup for him. I know they just signed Devontae Maddox to a contract extension, but he's not played that well this year, to be honest. So Kadarius Toney could have a little bit of an advantage there in the slot this week as well. But when it comes to Kadarius Toney, probably looking at it like the Elijah Moore range, probably like 5 to 8, 5 to 10% of your fab budget overall. It just depends on what you need on your team overall. But definitely a guy that has some upside, especially as this season moves along. Then we got Tre'Quan Smith, who I did mention last week. He played 95% of snaps this past week, so pretty much every snap. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 64 yards, so solid day all around there, 11.4 points in Week 11. Definitely a day that's not going to kill you overall. Has some upside for more, as we see when he scores the touchdown. Rostered in 3% of ESPN leagues, 4% of Yahoo leagues. Definitely a decent chance that he's out there. Goes against the Buffalo Bills in Week 12. Not the most advantageous matchup, but probably not a matchup you're going to want to roll him out right away, but you can pick him up. Stick him on your bench, play him in good matchups, play him when you need a bye week filler or anything like that. He's definitely going to be a valuable piece to any given roster. But with that being said, I'd probably spend like 2 to 3% of my fab budget on Tre'Quan Smith at this point in time. Maybe a little bit more if I need a wide receiver and there's not much else out there in your league. Then last but not least, we're going deeper dive kind of once again. We got DeAndre Carter. Played 75% of snaps this past week. Only 3 targets, but 2 receptions, 22 yards, a touchdown. They gave him 1 carry for -3 yards as well, 9.9 points in Week 11. Nothing that's going to kill you once again. He's probably a guy you want to have in a little bit deeper league, maybe in a dynasty league or something like that. But if you need to plug him into your lineup, he's probably not going to kill you most weeks. We're rostered 1% of ESPN leagues, 3% of Yahoo leagues. Goes against the Seattle Seahawks. Very favorable matchup. You can stack him with his quarterback, Taylor Heinicke, this week if you really want to do so. And it's probably not going to cost you a lot of fab. DeAndre Carter, probably 1 to 2% of my fab budget is what I'd be willing to spend on him this week. Then we got to talk about Dan Arnold, because he's still under 50% rostered. I know. Like, look at these numbers. They're terrible. 65% of snaps he played. That's a good thing. He had 0 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards, and 0 points in Week 11. That's a whole lot of zeros. That's pretty scary. But he was playing against the San Francisco 49ers. They are one of the best teams against tight ends overall. If you're not scoring a touchdown against the 49ers as a tight end, you're probably not going to have a good fantasy day overall. He's rostered in about 40% of leagues in both ESPN and Yahoo. Goes against the Atlanta Falcons in Week 12, which is like the opposite of that 49ers matchup. That's a very, very good matchup for a tight end. So it could turn around real quickly. I know Jamal Agnew got hurt in this game. Jacksonville's offense kind of sputtered. Just wasn't that good overall. So Dan Arnold definitely has a chance as a strong bounce back candidate this week. I don't think you're going to have to spend too much on him. I really don't, because of that goose egg. And maybe 2 to 3% of your fab budget. If you're in a league where he's already rostered, the owner of Dan Arnold is probably going to end up dropping him because they're like, oh, I don't want another 0. But coming into this week, we saw the targets there. We saw the consistency. So it's nothing that I'm majorly concerned about, and he's probably going to be a guy that you can play in your lineup more weeks than not. Then last but not least, for the tight end position, we got Evan Engram. Played 90% of snaps last night. Saw 5 targets, 2 receptions, 12 yards. Nothing great there. 3.2 points in Week 11. Roster in 27% of ESPN leagues, 30% of Yahoo leagues. He goes against the best matchup for tight ends in the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 12. Definitely a streamable tight end this week. Probably not somebody you want to have as a long-term play, so probably 1 to 2% of my fab budget is what I'd be willing to spend on him this week if I need a tight end. Then last but not least, we're going to talk about some defenses to stream for week number 12. So we got the Chicago Bears. They are rostered in 13% of ESPN leagues, 26% of Yahoo leagues. They go against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day. I thought they'd be a little bit more rostered at this point in time just because of Lamar Jackson being out and them playing the Ravens last week, but they're not. So they're pretty widely available. You're either going to have banged up Jared Goff or Tim Boyle, who did not look good in his debut by any means. I don't know why they didn't start David Blau over him, but that's a whole nother story. It's not going to be pretty for the Detroit Lions team. There's rumors that Matt Nagy's going to be fired after this game. Maybe the team rallies around and plays a little bit better as well. A lot of different factors there. I know they don't have Khalil Mack. He's done for the rest of the year. But Chicago Bears, 2 to 3% of my fab budget is what I'd be willing to spend on them this week. Then we have the Philadelphia Eagles going against the New York Giants. They are rostered in 13% of ESPN leagues, 19% of Yahoo leagues. The Eagles defense is playing slightly better. I know they gave up a lot of garbage time points to the New Orleans Saints, But if you can get pressure on Daniel Jones, force him to make turnovers, get some sacks, get some fumble recoveries, definitely going to be a good day for this Eagles defense overall. And with that being said, probably spend like 1 to 2% of my fab budget on the Eagles defense for this week. More of a streamable defense just for this week. And then speaking of streamable defenses just for this week, Houston Texans defense, they really balled out last week against the Titans. Roster in 1% ESPN leagues, 2% of Yahoo leagues. Pretty good chance that they're out there. They go against the New York Jets this week. Very favorable matchup, whether it's Joe Flacco at quarterback, Zach Wilson, Mike White, whoever. The thing the Texans do well is get after the quarterback and cause turnovers, which scores fantasy points. So definitely a streamable defense once again this week. Probably spend up to 1% of my fab budget on them overall. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on the waivers for this week. Like I said, there's not a lot out there by any means. If you have any questions about waivers, if somebody's available in your league that's not on my list, definitely be sure to ask me down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your fantasy football teams, helping you with DFS, whether it's NFL or NBA, talking a little bit of injury news, talking a little bit of football news. A lot of that's going to be in the starts and sits video, so I'll have one coming out tomorrow going over the Thursday night football games, talking about the injuries and plays and some starts and sits. And then I'll have the regular one on Saturday as well. I know I've missed it the last couple of weeks, but we'll be right back on it for this week. And then with that being said, if you are newer current subscribers yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up 12 videos a week every single day for NBA DFS. 5 days worth of fantasy football and NFL DFS content as well. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got that notification bell on because you don't want to miss any of it. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.